Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on funding to support training in the health and social care sector. My name is Joe Keegan. I'm the team leader for the skills brokerage team sitting within the growth platform. And we're here to support employers with all things related to skills and training. So this is the third webinar of a series of webinars that we're running, which are very short, as I mentioned, just half an hour, and give you the bare bones of essentially what is available through government funding. So I'm going to talk through a number of slides, but just to introduce the speakers, we've got myself, as I say, I'm the team leader of the brokerage team. We've got Sue Ennis. Sue's a skills broker covering the City Region. And we've got Michaela Williams-Brown from Liverpool Social Care Partnership. And we've got John Kerr from Skills for Care. So what we're going to talk about is what training is available and how you can access funding to support your workforce. I'm going to hand over first and foremost to Sue, and Sue's going to talk us through a number of opportunities to access funding. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. As Joe says, the Growth Platform, we are a free, impartial advice service for employers, whether you're looking for recruitment solutions, training solutions, skills solutions for your business. So really what I just want to touch on, because obviously there's some colleagues on here this morning who are going to give more detailed advice for the sector, for the health and social care sector. But I just want to touch on some solutions that we can help you with if you're looking for recruitment and training. So one of the first ones that we've got here, the slides, is apprenticeships. And I'm sure you all know about apprenticeships. So really it's just to touch on how these can be used for recruitment, obviously, for new staff, to retrain current staff. And there's also up to 100% funding depending on the age of the apprentice that you take on, and additional grants. And as I say, any of this, we will send the slides out, but you can contact us to go through any of these, this information in more detail after the session this morning. So really, apprenticeships enable staff to deliver good and outstanding care in the sector. You can improve your workforce competence and productivity through an apprenticeship. There's free access to recruitment platforms and advice, and again, we can help you with that. Access to funds from levy-paying employers, and my colleague Joe will explain a little bit more how that works later on as well. And that's to help fund your apprentice if you don't have the funds yourself. And access to additional funds to train your apprentice for eligible employers. And again, Joe will touch a little bit on the additional funding that we have available through the Growth Platform, and some other colleagues will talk about other funding as well. But it's important that you understand that here at the Growth Platform, we are free and impartial service, so we can help you do that. Thanks, Joe. If you just move it on.
This is where there's always a slight delay.
Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry. It's a Monday morning, so it takes some time for the slides to wake up, I think.
Oh, it works better with the mouse. There you go, Sue.
There you go, thank you. Oh, we're still, oh yeah, so just a quick overview of some of the apprenticeships that are quite popular and useful within the health and social care sector. So the most obvious ones, which you probably know of yourself anyway, are the adult care worker and lead adult care worker for level 2 and 3. The lead practitioner in adult care at level 4, leader in adult care at level 5. The level 4 and level 5 are management level, leading into management level apprenticeships. Nursing associate, social work, occupational therapist, physiotherapist and registered nurse, they're all at level 6, which is a degree level apprenticeship. So you can see that they go right from level 2 right up to level 6 degree level apprenticeships available within the sector. There is also available in the City Region a nursing and health cadet programme, and if you're interested in knowing more about that, that programme delivers for young people the extended diploma in health and social care at level 3 as part of that cadet programme. But again, if you're interested, have a chat with us and we can put you in touch with the providers who deliver that. But remember, you can have apprentices in any aspect of your business at all. So if you need help with business administration, accountancy, chef, you know, within your business, absolutely you can recruit apprentices within those sectors as well. Thank you, Joe. And also traineeships. So these traineeships are more of a work experience program, but you can use them as a recruitment tool. If you want to take somebody on a work experience program, see how they fit into the business, whether they enjoy being in the business, in the sector, and then you can move them on to perhaps an apprenticeship or take them on full time. It's a funded skills development program. And as I say, you can bring a young person into your business through a trial period, no cost to yourselves. You can progress them onto an apprenticeship or for further funding and training. And what it does give the young person exposure to a real workplace. So again, especially in such a tough sector as the health and social care, it gives them a chance to know whether they would like to go further in that sector, but also to see the other opportunities that are available in the sector, you know, as opposed to the ones that people just think that it's all that they can do. There's lots of other opportunities there. So it's a really good way to bring in somebody into the business. And again, we're here to help you with advice on how to do that. We can put you in touch with the providers who deliver the traineeship scheme, so that you understand it more to see whether it's suitable for you. Thanks, Joe. And the Kickstart. Now, this is a fairly new scheme. You may have heard of this or perhaps not, but Kickstart is for young people unemployed at the moment from the ages of 16 to 24 who are claiming universal credit. As you know, it's been a really tough year and a half for a lot of young people. So they may have left school, been unable to get a college place, perhaps their qualifications weren't quite what they hoped they would be, or just that they've not managed to find a position after college, so or even university. So employers of all sizes can apply to take a Kickstart employee on. 100% of the wage is paid, national minimum wage or national living wage, as long as you can provide them with 25 hours per week for a total of running over 6 months. So any associated employer national insurance contributions are paid as well, and any relevant workplace pension contributions. And also you can apply for further funding to train those young Kickstarters, the training and support. And again, a really good way to look at a recruitment solution into the business. The wages, salary is paid for a total of 6 months. And then if you want to progress them onto an apprenticeship, or just keep them on for full time, as I say, for a normal position, then absolutely you can do, or take on another Kickstart employee. So I think that's it, Joe, is it for my slides? Just as I say, a quick touch over some of the recruitment and training solutions that you can look at and we can support you with for free and impartial advice.
Yeah, thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Joe.
It's back to me, and I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about the apprenticeship levy transfer offer that we have at the moment within the growth platform, working with employers who are levy payers to try and identify whether they are going to use their levy, and if they're not, whether they're willing to transfer that over or a percentage of it to other employers. And we've had some success with this over the past couple of years. You can see there that employers can transfer up to 25% of their levy funds. And across the city region, what we've done is work with employers to transfer across roughly 1.3 million of pounds worth of activity to support the health and social sector, health and social care sector within the city region. So it is health and social care generally. There's lots of different types of employers that we're working with. There are some other employers who are non-health and social care that we're working with as well across the levy transfer activity. And you can see the return on investment there is about £35 million to the city region. So that's roughly £27 return on investment for every pound spent on apprenticeships. So it's been really successful, and we're growing that as we go. If anybody's interested in that, obviously they can talk to us about that in a bit more detail. There's roughly 304 apprenticeship starts that we've had, and we're working with 9 levy payers, and we've had about 25 receiving organisations. The large majority of those, as I say, are health and social care organisations that we're working with. So that's been great for us. I'm going to move over now to, just an example of the types of things that we've supported employers with on levy transfer. So you can see there that we've supported employers with the likes of the level 5 nurse and associate. It's a £15,000 apprenticeship. And in this example, this employer had to pay, or would normally have paid, a £750 contribution. but because we're working through levy transfer, it's 100% funded by the levy paying organisation. And the same with level 6 registered nurse, £27,000 is the cost. The employer would have normally have paid £1,350 contribution, but the levy transfer organisation has paid the £27,000 as 100%. So there's no cost there in terms of training costs to the employer. I'm going to move over now to Michaela Williams-Brown from Liverpool Social Care Partnership. Michaela is going to talk you through workforce development funds. Over to you, Michaela.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everybody. First of all, Workforce Development Fund, what is it? It's a pot of funds which is distributed each year through Skills for Care, who are our Sector Skills Council. Our role within that link, that project, is that we are engaged to disperse the funding throughout Greater Merseyside, Cheshire East, Cheshire West and Chester. The funds are a limited pot of funds, but I will say that last year we dispersed around £500,000. This year it looks like we're going to be doing the same. It enables the employer to develop their workforce in a number of different ways, and I won't go through that. I'll let John explain the depth of detail in terms of qualifications that can be gained. The employers can claim a contribution towards the cost of your employee training. So the idea is that it's retrospective funding, which means that the funding will have already been paid for or contribution paid for by the employer. The employer can also utilise that contribution for backfilling staff. Now, backfilling will be obviously about the staff member having time to do the qualification. So you'd have to pull another staff member to cover them. It might be time when you're doing one-to-one supervision about the qualification, checking how the individual's going. So that's something that you could be mindful of utilising the funding for. So to access the funds, what you need to do as an employer is you need to complete something that was known as the National Minimum Data Set. It is now the Adult Social Care Data Set. Very the same, very similar in terms of elements of information, but primarily you need to complete 100% of the organisational data and at least 90% of the employee data. Now, there is a helpline from Skills for Care who will go through all of that with you, will guide you through completion of that, but that is something that needs to be done before accessing the funding. In terms of what you need to do is you need to work with your training provider, and the evidence that you will send us at Liverpool Social Care Partnership, and your link is Kay, our administrator, is your copies of your accredited qualifications from the candidate's perspective, whether that's level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. That is the evidence that we need. We will then process that. We will send copies of the evidence to Skills for Care, who will then ratify the payment, will send it to us, and then we will work with you in terms of transferring those funds by BACS transfer into your account. What I do is I ensure that you have a detailed copy of the candidates and the qualification amounts that have been covered within your disbursement. If you have any questions at all in terms of starting points, if you've not completed or accessed these funds or completed the data set, please just give us a call. Our lines are open from 9 till 5, or alternatively you can email us. The other thing, if you're a bit hesitant in engagement at this point, I've included the link on the slide to show you directly from the perspective of Skills for Care what you need to do, and that will also link you into a sheet of qualification, a list of qualifications that are funded. Now, in addition to those specific qualifications, level 2, level 3, level 4, there are also some specialist stuff like autism, safeguarding, dementia, mental health. So again, it's about you fitting that into your workforce needs and into your delivery area within the services that you provide as an organisation. So again, if you need anything, just give us a call and we'll be there to support you. Thank you.
Thanks, Michaela. That's great. Just before we move on to John, I should have mentioned that we have a Q&A facility within, obviously, this Zoom facility that we have. So if anybody's got any questions, then drop them into the Q&A function there, and then we'll do our best to answer those if we've got time at the end. If we don't get time at the end, then obviously when we send the slides out, we'll respond to all those questions that are being put into the Q&A section there. So I'm going to move on to John Kerr from Skills for Care, and he's going to talk to you about other opportunities for WDF. John.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Just to reiterate really what Michaela was saying, Workforce Development Fund is a really great way to access funding for qualifications in adult social care. One of the advantages of it is it's not tied to certain age brackets or particular parts of the sector. So provided you're doing a qualification that's on that list of eligible qualifications, which is all your standard qualifications at level 2, 3, 4, 5 within adult social care, then you can access that money. So it's really worth linking in with. The other thing I just wanted to mention, if any of you are operating outside of Merseyside, Greater Merseyside and Cheshire, you can also claim it directly through Skills for Care if you've got other branches in perhaps in other parts of the country. So just to be aware of that. The other thing I just wanted to quickly flag up is, although WDF is the main fund, there was also a specific COVID related fund that was launched last year in response to the pandemic. So there's basically 3 parts to that I just wanted to let you know about. One is rapid induction, one is refresher training, and one is a program for volunteers. This is delivered through endorsed providers. So we have a number of training providers who go through an endorsement process with us to meet certain quality standards, and a number of those endorsed providers bid in to be able to deliver these programs. The rapid induction program is for new staff to adult social care, and it consists of assisting in moving people, fire safety, food safety, health and safety awareness, infection prevention and control, medications management, safeguarding, and in particular in the context of isolation, and also the knowledge elements of the care certificate. So if somebody's new to adult social care, they can access that program, and that's fully funded, and it can be found through the link on the slide. The refresher program is very similar, and it covers the same areas with the exception of the care certificate, but it's aimed at people who have already worked in adult social care and who may need to refresh certain aspects of what they've been doing. So they may not go through all of those units, but they can pick and choose those that they need a refresher on. There's also a program for volunteers, which provides an introduction to adult social care, talks about the roles and responsibilities within the sector. There's a section on whistleblowing. There's a section on person-centered values, equality and diversity, which is really important in the sector, as you all know. There's one about telephone support, pros and cons to that. So that's COVID specific. One about pain and discomfort, infection prevention control, fluids and hydration, food safety, and health and safety. So specifically looking at the kind of volunteer role within COVID. So all of those are delivered through endorsed providers. The links there on the slide. Just to be aware, with this and with the main Workforce Development Fund, it's going through the process of being signed off by the Department for Health and Social Care. So there may be a little delay in being able to access the 21-22 funding, but it should come through fairly soon. And I think that's me.
Thanks, John. Back to me, and I'm going to talk you through some other potential pots of funding that you can access. So we're working with, obviously we work closely with and part of the Combined Authority in Liverpool, who now have responsibility of the adult skills budget through devolution. Clearly through adult education budget, there are lots of different qualifications that are available through that particular fund. And some of the really popular ones I've listed here, you know, medicines, end of life, dementia, infection, falls, mental health, autism, preparing to work in adult social care. They've all been really popular programs, certainly as long back as I can remember in terms of adult education budget funding. So there is an opportunity for employers to access that fund now. And also there's availability for level 3 programs now to be funded where somebody doesn't have a first level 3 program, a first level 3 qualification, I should say. So that's available under the National Skills Fund and the Lifetime Skills Guarantee. So for example, on the list of available qualifications for anyone over the age of 24 who hasn't got a level 3 qualification, they can access up to 100% funding for that level 3 diploma in adult care. So that's something that's fairly new. That started in April this year. There are providers who can deliver that particular qualification across the city region. And obviously we've got lots of providers who can deliver the level 2 qualifications. But they tend to be on average 12 to 16 weeks long. Obviously the qualifications, so there's some kind of formal assessment involved in those. And clearly there's accreditation with awarding bodies, the likes of Excel and City and Guilds and NCFE and Byfield and lots of others out there as well. So that's another route for anybody looking to access qualifications and training for their staff. And they're delivered in a number of different ways, you know, from distance learning, online learning, face-to-face delivery. And clearly if employers are interested in any of those programs, we can signpost those employers to the right training providers in the city region who can deliver those qualifications. The other thing that we have, which is it's been around now for about 15 months, is the Be More Fund. Excuse me. A number of people may remember our Skills for Growth programme. This is sort of on the back of that. It works in a slightly different way. It's ESF funded, and it's where we can provide currently up to 70% towards the cost of short bespoke training programmes. We can't fund anything that's mandatory or statutory. So particularly within the health and social care sector, we couldn't fund things like moving and handling, first aid, health and safety. We can fund things like IOSH, the short 1 and 2 day programs, the working and managing safely. But we're just giving you a list here of lots of things that we have funded in the past. As I say, up to 70% towards the cost of training. So it may be that staff need a particular qualification and you want to get that accreditation. It may be that you're just looking for training, bespoke training that can be delivered in a day. And we have approved providers who can deliver all of these types of programs. So again, if anybody's interested in accessing any of these courses and accessing the Be More Fund, then speak to one of the skills brokers. The contact details are going to be on a later slide. It is available, the Be More Fund, up until September 2022. And we've had just under 800 registrations from all types of different employers across the city region. So yeah, it's there and available if employers want to use it. Just quickly to mention the way of access and support from skills brokers, and Sue touched on this earlier, you know, the fact that we provide impartial advice and guidance to employers across the city region. Clearly there are lots of providers out there delivering training, and they all deliver different types of training and deliver in different ways. What we essentially do is try and demystify the whole skills landscape for employers, try and take you through the process of understanding what funding is available and where you can access that funding and how you can access a training provider. So as Sue mentioned, it may be apprenticeships, it may be traineeships, it may be Kickstart, it may be other things like adult education budget. It may be that you're looking to access bespoke training and looking for funding for that through our Be More project. You know, we can take you through that. We can understand what you need, and then we can identify the right funding stream for the training that you're looking for. So you will have a dedicated skills broker which will support you from start to finish, navigating the complex skills landscape, as we said, and they work on your behalf. So they're not working on behalf of training providers. We're working on behalf of employers across the city region. So come and talk to us if you've got a need for particularly bespoke training, but any other training need, and we can source that for you. So the link there is the growth platform link. That'll take you to a registration page where you just takes you maybe 20 or 30 seconds to complete that registration. You'll then be contacted by a skills broker who will talk you through the support that they can offer. The City Region Growth Company, obviously the growth platform, we have a link now to our dedicated email address, which is skillsbrokers@growthplatform.org. So if you want to email us after today's session, you know, drop an email in there. We'll pick that up. We'll contact you. If you're not, you know, prepared at this time to register with us, that's fine. We can answer any queries that you might have. And it's as simple as that, really. We're just here to support you as best we can. Okay, so I'm just looking to see whether we have any questions.
Yeah, Joe, question come over for John.
Okay.
Can John define a little delay? And I've got a couple of questions if we have time, but I'll let you answer that one first, John.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of this happens every year. Basically, there's a transition between the 2021 and the 21-22 programs for Workforce Development Fund. As the funding comes from the Department for Health and Social Care, they formally have to sign off the work program. It always takes them a bit of time, but it'll happen over the next month or two. In terms of from a provider perspective, because the funding is claimed retrospectively, it doesn't mean that you can't start with, if you claim Workforce Development Fund, you can just carry on and do those qualifications and then claim back retrospectively once the program's up and running. So there shouldn't be any delay. In terms of the rapid induction and the refresher training, yes, you'll have to wait for an announcement in terms of once that's formally signed off, and then the endorsed providers will be able to deliver that. If you've got any questions about that, I'd recommend getting in contact with Skills for Care, and we might be able to give you some advice on that. Does that help?
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, could I just, I'm really interested, John, about in the COVID related fund. Obviously, if we get questions from employers through to us and we can't help with, for instance, volunteers, you know, you can't put a volunteer on an apprenticeship. We can't fund them through the growth platform funding that we have, the Be More fund. So is there an end date for this, or the COVID one? Does it just run from year to year?
Well, obviously, it's only run from last year. There will be an end date to it, but you know, obviously, it's going to be a limited response to COVID. But you know, all the discussions that I'm aware of, it's not going to end now. So you know that there will be the opportunity to do that until things have rebalanced. So yeah, the volunteer one, you know, that's eligible to anybody that's wanting to volunteer in adult social care. So you know,
is there a limit to how much an employer can claim through that? Is there a?
Well, they're not claiming, and this is delivered by endorsed providers, so they're not claiming money. They are being given places on a program. So there is a limit, because there's a limit to the pot of funding, but I don't suppose in reality that should affect any employers in Merseyside. You know, just get involved.
That's great. Thank you, John.
John, can I just add, in terms of for any employers who are thinking about accessing the funding, what I would say is start using this time to prep. When I say prep, it's about chasing your training providers, making sure you've got all your documentation, making sure that your certification is correct, that your each learner has the unique reference number, they have the learner reference number. Because usually what happens, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, is the claiming year starts from January. So it will be January 2021, and it usually goes through to the end of March 2022. Now, this year we did have an extension to the end of May, but I mean, that's obviously around COVID issues. But John, I don't know whether the DOH is looking at giving an extension for 22 year yet. Do you know?
I don't know that. I suspect they probably won't do that until later in the year.
Yeah.
So I would run on the assumption that the funding year will go from January to March.
Yeah. Yeah.
We may extend it if we have another spike or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, that's a problem to deal with later on down the line.
So again, with the employers, if you're thinking about claiming, what I would say is get your certificates over now and we'll check them all for you. We'll do the checks and balances, make sure that we've got every piece of information that is applicable when we're doing the processing. And then obviously the dialogue, if there's any issues, the dialogue can take place now in prep before the claiming point starts. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for that. So I think we've covered mainly the key areas for funding across the city region. There may be some others, and obviously we can pick up on that with anybody who's interested in registering with us. We will send these slides out after this session to everybody who's joined us, and clearly contact details for Michaela and John as well. And I'd just like to thank Michaela and John as well for joining us today. It's been really, really useful. As skills brokers, obviously, we need to keep on top of all of the different types of funding that are coming in and they're available to employers. So it's really good to hear what Michaela and John have had to say. So what we're going to do now is we have recorded this session. You will be able to access this through the Growth Platform website if you want to send this on to any of your colleagues. But we are going to close the session and I say thank everybody for attending and thank all the speakers as well.
Joe, can I just ask a quick question before you
Yeah,
go?
sure.
I was at a meeting last week and it's regarding pre-employment training because we deliver with adult learning services in Liverpool, the level 1, level 2 NCFE preparing to work in adult social care. And what I heard is that now employers, even if they've just taken staff on, it was a £17,500 platform that they could still access those specific provisions if they've got employees working under that annual threshold for wages. And I've heard that it's increased to 30k now. So could you give any clarity on that if you know that?
The only thing I can think that would be the adult education budget low wage pilot.
Yeah.
So there was a low wage pilot, was around £17,500. If you were under that threshold, then you would get your qualifications would be fully funded. Basically, there wouldn't be a contribution. Adult education budget is learner led, not employer led. So it's about the individual gaining those qualifications, not necessarily for the employer. That threshold did rise to about just over £18,000, I think, as we move forward with wage rises and whatever. So, but now, as I understand it, there is an opportunity for everybody within the city region to get fully funded AEB level 2 qualifications,
right.
Which can be delivered on the employer's premises now, regardless of what they are. It's quite complicated. Adult education budget split between entitlements and other things. So again, if employers are interested in accessing qualifications and looking to access funding for those, the easiest thing for them to do is to register with us or contact us, and we can talk them through that.
Brilliant. Because I'm just thinking about, for ours, what we've particularly done is we've embedded the care certificate within the level 2 pre-employment training program. So the candidates obviously getting the care certificate as well as that qualification. So to me, if I was an employer, I'd be like, do you know what? I'm going for this because you're getting support to induct your candidate. And then you've then got possible apprenticeships and access to workforce development funding. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's all untapped, isn't it? And this is one of the key reasons why we look to run these webinars, that clearly people don't know what they don't know, and we're here to support, and I know you are as well, Michaela and John. Wherever we can, we will signpost employers to the right funding for them, and make sure that can be accessed. It's a great shame, really, that there's not more of these out there. So we need to be doing these all of the time to make sure that employers are more informed about the funding available, and clearly that's our job to do that. Smashing. Well, thanks very much to everybody again, and we'll be running probably a few more webinars over the near future, and we will let you know of those if they're of any interest. I think the next one we have is around levy transfer and how you can access that for apprenticeships. We do have lots of training providers who contact us about that as well, who are working with employers, so that's absolutely fine. But we'll let you know when the next one is. So we'll close the webinar, and thanks again for everybody for joining today.
Thank you, Michaela.
Thanks now. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.